episode is brought to you by ServiceNow India. Welcome to another episode of Mint Techcetra. I'm your host, Deepti Ahuja, and today we will tackle an issue that impacts millions of customers and businesses across India, the billion-dollar customer service gap. In today's fast paced, customer centric world, the gap between what businesses promise and what they deliver can make or break a brand. Poor customer experiences, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's a potential chasm where customer loyalty, satisfaction, and revenue can just vanish. Closing this gap isn't just about meeting expectations anymore. It's about exceeding these expectations. Did you know that in 2023 alone, people in India spent about 15 billion hours on hold? Probably even more than that. And the patience is, of course, running out. Two-thirds of customers say that they'd switch to other brands if their issues aren't sorted within a matter of 3 days. I think that's a very considerable ask. Many of them are waiting on hold, waiting to hear the golden words. How may I help you? To discuss these alarming statistics and the potential of AI as a powerful ally, we have on the show Mr. Sumeet Mathur, Senior Vice President and Managing Director of ServiceNow India. Sumeet brings a wealth of experience and knowledge on how AI and innovative solutions are transforming customer service. Together, we'll explore these challenges, their economic impact, and the future of customer service in India. On that note, hi Sumit, how are you?
Thank you, Deepti. Happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
The pleasure's all ours. A Delhi boy meeting a Delhi girl. Great.
Absolutely.
So let's kick things off by defining what we mean when we talk about a poor customer experience. Is it just, like we touched before, meeting experiences, or is it also about having great experiences? Why and why is customer service such a critical piece for businesses today? What does that look like from both the customer and the business perspectives? If you could just elaborate on that.
Absolutely. So, Deepti, if you know, right, I mean, India remains one of the fastest growing economies and the fifth largest consumer market in the world.
Yeah,
Uh, the India's household consumption nearly doubled in the past decade,
yeah.
and it's growing at a CAGR of like over 7%, higher than any other countries in the world.
Hmm.
So, not surprisingly, Indian customers now expect and deserve superior customer experience. And
Absolutely.
customer experience is now becoming the new battleground for market share. I mean,
Yeah.
in today's hyper competitive landscape, where it's not only regional but global customers and global businesses in the play, delivering exceptional and personalized interactions is no longer a luxury for our Indian businesses, but it's a
Yeah.
necessity. And for businesses, superior customer experience is the cornerstone of long term success. I mean, it is not only essential for retaining customers, but also driving revenue, differentiating from competitors.
Hmm.
And poor customer experience can lead to churn, lost sales, damage to the brand, which is so important to
Hmm.
safeguard these days, right? So, our inaugural customer experience intelligence report shared some very important insights on
Hmm.
both these perspectives, right?
Hmm.
And like you probably mentioned in your introduction, Indian businesses are at risk of losing two-thirds of their
Hmm.
customer base in 2024 due to slow service solutions.
True.
So, in my view, like focusing on customer service and harnessing the appropriate technology can propel both our businesses and our nation to greater heights in this world marketplace.
Great. So, going back to the report that you just mentioned, I want to understand why did ServiceNow undertake this survey? Anyone could have done that, right? And what are some of the key findings apart from the ones that we've already sort of mentioned? What are some of the other key findings that you've uncovered?
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer your first question, right, it just became pretty apparent that customer truly reigns supreme across almost every industry, right? And with us as an economy growing at such a rapid pace, uh, what's the hindrance? What's what is that something that stops our businesses, our industries to become global market leader, right? And uh, and we undertook this survey and research along with a partner of ours, and the insights were staggering. I mean, Indians spent, like you mentioned, an astonishing 15 billion hours on hold in
Yeah.
2023. And the economic impact is like $55 billion loss in productivity, which for a nation of our size and scale is very
Hmm.
significant. And the tagline that we heard was service delayed is service denied. And increasingly, uh, we as Indians are becoming impatient. I mean,
Hmm.
two-thirds of Indians consider taking their business elsewhere if their issue is not resolved within 3 days. And given the average resolution time is 3.9 days across industries across our country, there's a growing risk for people to switch brands if they do not get solutions in time.
Yeah.
And that's a significant risk. There are some other things that we found as part of our research, Deepti.
Yeah.
The one was that, an average Indian, average citizen spends 30.7 hours annually dealing with customer service. I mean, which I'm assuming is mostly on hold, like you mentioned. And when do we do this? Most of us, 77% of us, is trying to get their issues resolved during 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's peak workday. And that's the loss of productivity. And that's where the $55 billion
That's
loss comes.
very surprising.
Yeah. And so, while our trust on chatbots and self-help guides has increased as an Indian demography is very young, right? But the problems are real. So the service delayed is service denied is the mantra for our Indian customers today.
Makes perfect sense. I've been on the receiving end of
All
such
of us,
calls.
all of us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure everyone who's listening or watching is also sort of at least being able to relate to the experience. Right? हाँ हाँ हमारे साथ हुआ है. Um, but okay, so this is something that we covered businesses basically, that businesses run the risk of loyal customers, changing brands,
Mhm.
and so therefore they run the risk of losing customers. But what would it mean for the economy on the whole, right? If a customer keeps changing brands, what would it mean for India, for the Indian economy?
Yeah. So, and we talked about the business side, right? Before I answer your question, I'll talk about the customer side. What is the customer feeling? What's prompting that change in their mind, right?
Sure.
And why are they getting this sense of disappointment? Uh, and by the way, if I did not mention, this survey was industry agnostic. So being a retail industry or banking or finance industry or telecom industry, I mean, those every industry has the same issue that got pointed out. And if you look at it from a customer's perspective, like what are the three or four things that we run into that you and I would feel frustrated, right? One is uh, we hate repeating the issues when our calls get transferred from one agent to another. I mean, I'm sure you have experienced that, right? So more than half of the Indians pointed that out clearly. The other one is, you being on hold for a time that is not acceptable to you, right?
Yeah.
There's a
And
difference for being on
that
hold.
time's getting shorter by the hour.
Yeah, right. And the other one is, I don't know if this experience has happened with you or not, but about 1 out of 3 survey respondents said that they get annoyed when the agent is unable to understand their issues. And that talks about skilling and whatnot about customer agents.
Right.
So, how does it all relate to? When businesses have challenges with customer experience and keeping the customers loyal and happy, uh, it leads to a diminished ability to compete domestically and globally, right? And it has an impact on both the top line and the bottom line. it has an impact on their ability to invest in more innovative solutions. It has an impact on their ability to keep their employee morale and motivation high, right?
Hmm.
Which has a ripple effect on a fragile economic environment or fewer opportunities for job creation if the businesses do not grow, right? And so all that wealth generation and all that leads to a direct impact on our nation's progress and competitiveness in this global marketplace.
Hmm.
And the best way to create a great customer experience is transparency, empathy, and speed of resolution. That's that was the gist of what we found from our survey.
Hmm. Makes a lot of sense, and I'm also seeing a lot of interesting connections into what we are going to get into now. Um, so, according to your report, inefficiency of internal communications, a lack of decision making amongst the staff, these were cited as some of the major issues. Um, uh, what are the factors driving the chasm between customers and enterprises apart from this, and why is this really happening?
Yeah, no, that's a interestingly, our report also went into the next level of detail that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And based on the findings, what we concluded is there is something that is plaguing our organizations and businesses today, which we coined as messy middle. And let me
Hmm.
explain what messy middle is, right? It's basically a lack of connectedness and coordination between teams or systems, between your front office, your middle office, your back office, right? And that affects a multitude of organizations, even if they are digitally savvy, right? That
Hmm.
connecting the silos of the organization, connecting the silo systems of the organization so that you can provide that end-to-end customer experience from your front, middle, and back office is the key. And that's the chasm, right?
Right.
And how did it come across in our report? Because 48% of our respondents said that there is inefficient communication within parts of the organization,
Hmm.
right? Uh, the customer service agent that they are interacting with does not have enough data or empowerment to make decisions, right? Like you mentioned, there's like, and then I don't know if you have run this, right? If you're interacting with a large organization,
Yes.
sometimes you feel there's lack of ownership between different
Oh,
departments,
absolutely.
right? And, and,
Yes.
and a classic example that all of us must have felt at one or the other time is you return something and you're trying to find out where is my refund? Where is my security deposit if I'm terminating a service, right? And
Right.
it goes, sometimes it goes in an endless loop, jumping from one department to another. And
Yes.
that could be because of poor record keeping. That could be because nobody knows in the organization who
Hmm.
has got to make the decision and empowerment and communication and all that stuff, right? So it all comes down to messy middle.
Correct. Makes a lot of sense. And I think having a system probably of the sorts would solve a lot of these issues apart from the communication soft skills issue, which of course that's a different story altogether. But since we're on Mint, etc., let's talk about AI. I want to know I want to know how you see AI unfolding as a key enabler when it comes to building that customer experience that truly resonates with the customer, truly addresses their problems.
Yeah, there's no conversation you can have these days without bringing in AI. So I'm not surprised, and this comes up here as well, right?
Of
Uh,
course, of course.
what businesses have to do is they have to take control of their customer's journey from onboarding a customer to, well, when you say goodbye to a customer, right? And integrating everything into what my experience says is it works well when you can do that on a single AI powered platform, right? So that you can streamline services, you can automate tasks, you can connect the silos up within the organization. And I believe there are like 6 ways a single AI platform can break this limitations or bottleneck, right? One, we talked about streamline data and communication between systems and teams. The second one is automate across your front, middle, and back office, not in silos. A lot of organizations say we are digitally savvy, but what they end up doing is they are automating in silos, right? Not connecting uh, the front, middle, and back office
So true. Yeah.
in one workflow. Also, that if you do that, then you provide visibility across the organization, right? And then you provide ability for the customer to find information and self-serve. I mean, many times you and I would not want to call somebody. We would just expect the business to provide us some mechanism where we can help ourselves, right? Any time of the day. And if you look at from a customer agent's perspective, an employee of the business, right? They would love if they have an ability to reduce time spent on administrative tasks, repetitive tasks, right? If that can be automated, they can actually spend more time with the customer, right? And that will actually, our research has shown that increases employee satisfaction because they
Yes.
find them doing meaningful work now
Yeah.
instead of doing repetitive work, right? So, and the other one is, you got to serve the customer where the customer is. And today, the customer can be calling you on a phone call, could be on their mobile app, could be on the web. The customer wants to interact where they are, right? So the businesses needs to build a platform that is
Correct.
able to serve the customer at their uh, preferred channel of experience, right? So those are the things I think that an AI-based platform can do for our businesses to just close this service gap that we are facing today.
So, Gen AI and automation has touted as itself as game changers for customer service. Can you highlight in detail how this landscape is shifting when it comes to consumer response to Gen AI? And are they more open to self-service solutions and chatbots? That's another one for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Deepti. And I think that's a very relevant question to ask, right? And it's a question that businesses have to ask themselves. But if you look at it, delivering self-service options to your customers to help resolve the issue, it's something that is much simpler and easier for Indian businesses. And the reason I say that is because our demography is very young demography as compared to some other countries, right?
Yeah.
And especially if you look at Gen Z, right? I mean, they're very comfortable with the use of technology.
I'd honestly say they're more comfortable with technology than with,
Yeah.
people.
So, but rightfully, our survey spanned across age groups. So
Hmm.
we had Gen Z and millennials and Gen Xers and baby boomers and everybody.
Yeah.
So if I look at the collective Indian population diaspora, right, um, two-thirds of Indians have said that they have resolved more issues themselves through self-service
Hmm.
options, right? And the trust level on AI or self-help or chatbots and virtual agents uh, is increasing, right? More than 55% of respondents said that. And again, this is across the age group, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but if you look at another thing that our respondents are telling us is that they want better explanation of how AI is being used
Hmm.
and how is it helping them with faster resolution. And 42% basically said, can you clearly label where AI is being used? And I think the reason for that is because people want to know, especially not Gen Xers, right? The other baby boomers and millennials
Boomers,
and
Xers, millennials, I think everyone
everybody,
wishes
right? They
to
want to
sort
know
of.
whether I'm interacting with a live agent or I'm interacting with AI. I mean, give me
Yeah.
some clarity, right? I think that's where the trust level increases. And it goes back to transparency, right? That we talked about. So,
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So, I think industry is going to shift. And
Hmm.
industry is shifting from how may I help you, which you talked about in your introduction,
Yeah.
to how may AI help you?
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Now I'm looking at all of my customer experiences, and I'm also realizing that why this is happening. Why would someone prefer to at least for the company to at least label these things? Because I mean, if you get a WhatsApp message, now WhatsApp is such an intimate space, right? You are interacting with your family members, you're interacting with your friends, and you expect that the expectation at least is that data is going to be safe. If I get a message from any brand that I've ordered from, and if I also want to, then um, respond, or maybe after like 5, 6 hours, I have a question. I should know if I'm talking to an AI or if I'm talking to a person and whether they're going to respond or not. Even if it's an annoying message and it's like, it's after 6 and our shops are shut, we'll respond later. Even then, makes a lot of difference though. No one likes to be kept hanging. Makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yes, transparency.
You said somewhere in the middle that there are three things that we are lacking in and we should, make haste to make up for: transparency, speed, and empathy.
Mhm.
And despite advancements in AI, customers still value empathy, a human touch. How can,
Absolutely.
businesses balance the AI-driven customer service with a need for empathetic human interactions?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and this was also quite insightful, right? Because balancing AI-driven customer service with the need for, like you said, empathetic human interaction, it requires a thoughtful blend of technology and humanity, right? And transparency, empathy, speed are the game changers, like you mentioned. But it also showed up, right? I mean, what does transparency mean, or what does empathy mean, right? So, and it came up with our respondents' answers in different ways. Like, for example, 3 in 5, about 59-60% of respondents said that they would expect customer service staff to have a better understanding of their previous interactions. So I'm not repeating my issue. That's empathy for our respondents, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
And then when they say, 60% of Indians clearly said we want faster speed of resolution. So that's speed, right? And the
Correct.
transparency angle is what citizens talked about. Like, tell me if I'm talking to a human agent or I'm talking to an AI, right? So while we build the narrative that transparency, empathy, and care is and speed is important, right? It's basically putting AI to work so that your customer agents free up time from mundane tasks and focus on your customer more, right? They are not rushed, right? And they have the data and the action at their fingertip so they can serve the demands of the customers faster and better. So to me, AI is an amplifier in the human interaction and not a replacement to human interaction.
Looking ahead, Sumit, what are the key trends and innovations you foresee in the customer service landscape in India, especially over the next 5 years?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting question. So if you look at it, right, I think definitely there's going to be a focus on shifting from reactive to proactive customer care, right? From mere problem solving to delightful experience, right? And to enable those things, I think there will be a proliferation of adoption of AI technology. But again, emphasis is going to be hyper personalized customer experience, right? I can't have the same customer experience, like drive the same customer experience that I drive for Deepti as I would drive for Sumit because we are different
Yeah.
personalities, our expectations are different, and things like that. So, AI powered chatbots, virtual assistants, predictive analytics, all these will become, I think, mainstream. And also providing them where the customer are on your mobile channel, on your phone, on your web, and wherever it is, right? And like you said, I think businesses will leverage data to gain deeper insights into behavior patterns, right? Buying
Hmm.
patterns, preferences, pain points, right? And allow so that informed decision making can happen. Uh, there is going to be, and I think you mentioned it earlier in the call about soft skills. I think
Yeah.
there is going to be a need for focusing on upskilling of our customer service teams
Yes.
because one is on the technology, on AI and automation, but then how best to use the technology to drive better outcomes for your customer, right? And as AI becomes more embedded in customer service, there is going to be a school of thought that will emerge that will talk about concerns around data privacy,
Hmm.
concerns around ethical use of AI. Uh, so that's where transparency is going to be very, very important, right?
Right.
Because in customer experience, in customer service business, trust is the ultimate human currency. And
Absolutely.
trust is earned in drops, but lost in buckets.
Oh, so very, I mean, you've put it so well. Um, it is. And I think that's on that note, it's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much, Sumeet, for coming on the show, for joining us, sharing your expertise, and addressing India's customer service challenge so empathetically. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepti. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure's all ours. Um, it's clear that the integration of AI and advanced technologies is pivotal in bridging this service gap, enhancing customer satisfaction, and driving business success. We hope that you found this discussion as enlightening and joyful as we did. Don't forget to subscribe to Mint Techcetra for more episodes. This is Deepti signing off.